L'enfer est sur la terre, enveloppé de misère. Seuls les nègres l'habitent, pas un blanc n'y réside. C'est un endroit obscur, sans un brin de lumière.
I was there because I'm with the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund, and as an attorney I was there to document some of the abuses that people in Haiti had suffered before. So I met with people at Mario Joseph's office that documented the abuse at the hands of the UN forces. I met with some young people in City Soleil that had been shot by the police, by the police and by UN forces. 13-year-olds crossing the street and shot for no reason. Some of that's to be followed up and has been worked on before. I met with people that some of you may have seen in Kevin Peña's film, We Must Kill the Bandits. I met with the woman who was in the film who was pregnant and shot, and I witnessed the outrage that she has face to face that we kept seeing in the film. I witnessed the sense of wrong that people were able to display when you talk to them up close, when you can touch them, when they have been mistreated and abused. And I witnessed the feeling that people have for the Cathedral government and its inability to serve, its inability to meet the needs of the people, the lack of government, the lack of government services. All of that existed before the earthquake.
Mais si Préval connaît son président lié, les peuples te posent pour lui, mais je dis à nous pas en tribulation, ça pour nous passer trahi ça trop pour nous pas porter encore. Nous demandons Préval sans la régler avec nous pour nier. Après je dis là, si nous guérissons ça, c'est nous-mêmes qui parlons là pour Préval pour mettre Préval dehors.
On the day of the earthquake, I had been with Barbara Selena, and I had been to first thing in the morning, a press conference organized by members of Lava Loss, a commission that is dealing with the election and the exclusion of Lava Loss from the elections that were planned in February. At that time, they were preparing to roll out a campaign of mass mobilization from Lava Loss that would include street actions. President Aristide had already been on the air a number of times talking about the need for the full participation of the people. And Lava Loss was mobilizing meetings. We met with members of a People's Congress. At this Congress, they were discussing the elections and the plans for the elections. And I met with some people afterwards, and one of the things that was important is that we asked each of the people that were there representing certain members of the legislature how they got to be there. And every one of those people went through a process from their regions, from the Northwest, from the Northeast, from Petronville, from various parts of other parts of Port-au-Prince, from various sectors of the country. And they went through an election process that is the same as we go through our election processes, where they talked with members of community groups, grassroots, churches, organizations of students, and thousands of people involved in the process, very much like general election. And they were elected to go to this People's Congress, which is a shadow Congress. They had more support than the people who were sitting in the Congress itself. And so they were there in a group, maybe the size of this group here, where they talked about their political positions, mimicking the positions of people in the legislature. But the amazing thing is that this is a demonstration of how much support Lava Loss has, how much participation people in the country have. I mean, this is a process of to some extent, theater, political movement, political organization, political demonstration. And it had taken place in every section of the country where people participated, knowing that they were not going to go make laws, but that they were going to represent political theater. They were going to represent political protest. And I was amazed at that, the amount of participation in a place where people don't have a government that represents them. They're still fighting for that. We had also met with Reyes School and had been at her school that day. Reyes School right now is a medical clinic, and somebody from sort of our family, a friend, very close friend, is on her way, a doctor who just graduated medical school from Chicago, is on her way tomorrow on a plane to go with Kevin Pena to Port-au-Prince, and Friday afternoon she will be in Port-au-Prince, going up to the foundation, and from there up to Petronville to work with the clinic. The Aristide Foundation is less than 2 miles from the airport. There are 53 doctors there, and there are thousands of people in need of medical care. People with all kinds of injuries that we see that would exist from the kind of horrible earthquake that occurred. And they're not getting medical supplies. They can't go to the airport and pick up medical supplies. Medical supplies are not being delivered to them. They don't have fresh water. You know, a person that is not accustomed to marching could carry a bag of medical supplies. 1,000 people could carry 1,000 bags of medical supplies. There are 9,000 UN troops in Haiti. There are hundreds or thousands of US soldiers at that airport, but not one of them has put a backpack on with medical supplies, bandages, antibiotics, and marched up to this place.
Why?
Political.
Why are they saying? What
Well, that's the question that we all have to ask. Why? And why do we allow it? Why do we allow it to happen? What can we do to stop it? What must we change in our government, in our own society, that would allow that to happen? Those are American troops right there on that tarmac. Tax money that's keeping medical supplies, not just from this place, from other places. The Reyes Clinic up in Petronville, there's an open road that leads up there. People are in the square with no water. I was on the radio with Rhea and Pierre yesterday morning, and she was scrounging for water and food for people in the square. They have seen no help. Tuesday, 4:45, I was in a house, Barbara, my wife, our daughter, and the people we were staying with, eating dinner, and the terrible shaking started, and we rushed out. The house didn't crumble, but if that house was of the sort that would have crumbled, we wouldn't have made it, as so many people didn't make it. We got to the open area out in front, and we realized what had happened. This horrible dust that we see on television, I saw when I got back, we could see rising over Port-au-Prince. We heard a great explosion, and we heard great cries, and perhaps we were still listening to crumbling buildings. We went to the street, and the streets were full of people crying, some aware instantly that they had lost someone that they were in the room with, others knowing that other people were in the rubble crying out for help. Haiti hadn't had an earthquake in anybody's lifetime or grandfather's lifetime, and nobody knew what it was right away. Hurricanes, I suppose, terrible rains and floods, but earthquakes and buildings falling on you was not something that people expected, and it was hard to know what it was. At some point, people realized that there was great suffering and great pain, and there was blood on people around them, and people began to help each other. We had a little gathering and said we need to get as much water as we can together and try and get our band-aids together and see what we can do to help people. And because we had some open space, we brought some people in, and some other folks brought people in and carried people in, and we began to offer first aid, cleaning up deep cuts and trying to help people with broken bones. But there's nothing you can do without a lot more than resources than we had, but we did offer some splints. Antibacterial soap, water, torn t-shirts, peroxide, and alcohol was what we were able to administer to people. That helped for the moment.